what goes down must come back up again, right? So that's been my experience so far with my clients in particular. 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, you're probably looking somewhere in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. Just again, depending on how the proximity to the beach. Of course, that's going to, if you have beach views, that's going to bring the price up a little
Yeah.
bit. So probably somewhere in the 6 to 8 for that size.
Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview Texas real estate professionals from active real estate investors, lenders, property managers, and many others that provide goods and services into the real estate investing industry in the great state of Texas. Our goal is simple: to share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level, and to meet the pros that can help you get there. Texas Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs build the business they need to live the life that they've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Melissa Hladyniuk, is an award-winning eXp realtor serving both Port Aransas and North Padre Island. She's a 3-time icon agent and top producer recognized for exceptional marketing, influence, and client service. Originally from Canada, she brings a passion for coastal living and a proven record of results. You can find her online at melissasellsislandlife.com. Melissa, thanks for taking the time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, I want to jump right in here because we were talking before hopping on here about the short-term space. And I know from talking with investors really throughout Texas, but also honestly throughout the country, that there's a ton of interest in the area that you serve in Port Aransas and North Padre Island. But I also know that short-term rentals can be tricky. I've worked with people who own them, who manage them, and with flippers who, potentially flip and hold these properties as short-term rentals. So what's the market like for these short-term rentals? And are people finding, more distressed properties to value add and then hold, or are they buying these properties on market and then renting them out on a short-term basis?
Well, we've had a huge transition down here since the market boom, of course, in 2020, 2021, where, like anywhere else, we couldn't keep inventory down here. I think the greater issue and what has spurred our complete opposite market here now is where we have too much inventory. I mean, upwards of 22 months of inventory in Port Aransas. And so to kind of circle back to your point of how tricky it can be owning a short-term rental investment property, what happened during the market boom was a lot of people were buying these properties, waiving appraisals, overpaying for them, and not necessarily, gauging their gross rental revenue on what that amount, like by overpaying, what that, 10% gross rental income number would look like, because the nightly rates didn't go up. And so we've been finding that a lot of people seem to just get in over their head during that time. The rental rates didn't go up. Everyone went back to work after COVID. And so people weren't working and vacationing and bringing their kids here as much. And so we've really seen an increase in inventory and people having to sell, we're starting to see a lot more distressed properties pop up, which in my 7 years has not been a very common theme, specifically in Port Aransas. And so we're definitely in an interesting time. 2025 was a really challenging time in the real estate market down here for sure.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I mean, I think everywhere. I mean, people, and I can certainly imagine, when there's some level of uncertainty, buying coastal property when there's a large supply. There's so much that goes into it. Plus, too, one thing we didn't talk about so far is this idea of, Airbnbs have like this seasoning period, if you will, especially if you have like a newer account and you're relying heavily on your Airbnb account. I've been told from investors that, it could take a couple months for it to start gaining traction, right? And so you kind of have to factor that into the pro forma as well. Now,
Mhm.
you also mentioned something, which is, you're seeing maybe more people who are, flipping and holding these properties, doing some type of value add. For the Airbnb investors that you've worked with and that you've seen be successful, are they finding these deals, do you know, like off market, like pocket listings, that type of thing, going direct to seller? Or are they finding properties that are like heavily distressed on market and maybe not selling to a traditional buyer? And so they're able to get it maybe at a effective rate or effective cost?
I think in my experience recently, it's more agents like myself reaching out to a lot of our investor buyers and saying, you know, these properties, so we have an overabundance of inventory right now. You're already an investor. What they were paying for them 2 and 3 years ago. We've had a massive market correction here in pricing, and so and then on top of that, obviously using Zillow, Realtor, and local MLS services, I think they're seeing the listings there more so because we're just starting to pick up speed on the distressed properties and foreclosures here. So I would definitely say
Yeah.
it's more the local agents who have the market knowledge to reach out and know their investors really well to be like, hey, these numbers make sense for you. We're not going to be down forever in Port Aransas. What goes down must come back up again, right? So that's been my experience so far with my clients in particular.
I know it's going to be a range, but for if someone was buying, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, Airbnb or short-term rental somewhere, and it's, let's say, rental grade, maybe they could add some finishings, give it a theme, but it's rental grade. What might that sell for right now in that market?
3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, you're probably looking somewhere in the $600,000 to $800,000 range. Just again, depending on how the proximity to the beach. Of course, that's going to, if you have beach views, that's going to bring the price up a little
Yeah.
bit. So probably somewhere in the 6 to 8 for that size.
As you said that number, I could almost feel the problem because, I'm licensed in Texas as well. And I'm thinking about the average home price in Dallas, right? Somewhere around the $400,000 or $500,000 range. And, people are thinking, well, that's a lot for Texas. But then they're looking at, coastal properties where, it's 50% more than that, almost, or double, right? And so if people are pulling back on some other areas of life, then maybe that extra expenditure could be, a tough speculative purchase for them, so to speak. I do want
Yeah.
to pivot though a bit here and ask you about, the seasonality of, owning a short-term rental down there. I'm imagining that there's going to be some months where it's of course less busy than others. How does that impact these investors? And then also too, are there some months where, some of these properties may sit vacant or largely vacant, and that's factored in? You kind of have to make up for it in the busy months.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Yeah. So I want to answer that in two parts. So our peak seasons, of course, basically where you can pretty much rely on about 90 to 95% occupancy. That is your Memorial Day right through to about mid-August when the kids go back to school. Our shoulder seasons, which I would consider to be September, October, a little bit November, maybe up until about Thanksgiving. You'll see weekend bookings, long weekend bookings in there. They typically happen midweek. You're not booked out generally during that time. And the same for, after spring break, March and April is about the same. And then we really rely heavily on winter Texans or snowbirds during the winter months because, people just aren't vacationing here as much. And so the only downside of that is generally what you get for a week in rental income you're seeing for a month, but at least it does help to support and cover your expenses. One thing that people have to take into consideration though as well, this is kind of like point two that I wanted to touch on, is a lot of our investors aren't local. Like I own two short-term rental investment properties here on the island, and we manage it ourselves. We do it through Airbnb. We actually even clean it ourselves. So a lot of my clients, probably I would say 85% of them, are not local. And so they have to rely on these third-party rental management companies as well. And I
Yeah.
think I'm sure you've had this experience, like being able to be hands-on and be your own property manager and save that 20 to 30% property management fee is huge. But a lot of our investors don't have that. And so they're just not running it like it's their own business as you might by managing your own Airbnb. They're really reliant on these property management companies to do that for them. So that can also present a challenge in terms of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, no question, and not just really in any one segment of real estate. I just spoke with a fund manager in Dallas, and earlier today, and we were talking about how the right property manager can make a deal, the wrong one can break a deal, especially when you're dealing with economies of scale, right? But if you have the wrong management team on an Airbnb or any type of short term rental, that can cause so many issues, not just for the tenants, but also like for your exposure and your account, right? So I mean, if you get one bad Airbnb review, that can tank a whole profile, from what I understand. I do want to
Absolutely.
ask you, I've heard some pretty remarkable really like surcharge or seasonal rates that people can charge in some other coastal areas of the country. I've also seen like for events that are popping up, like I believe it's the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, in Los Angeles. And then I was talking to someone in Wyoming yesterday. They have this really large like Frontiers Day, I believe, as they call it. And so local short-term rentals and Airbnbs can really charge quite a bit more than at other times of year. So I'm thinking
Mhm.
like that Memorial Day weekend, right, in Port Aransas, in North Padre Island, you've got to probably get top dollar premium rental rates for an Airbnb that's doing like outstandingly well, right? What's some of the higher booking rates that you've seen, maybe on a weekly or monthly basis during that time of year?
It obviously would depend on the size and how many bedrooms, but I can tell you, on our little one bedroom, one bathroom, it's about 495 square feet. It does sleep five, believe it or not. We've got that configured pretty well. But I think that on Memorial Day weekend, we can get roughly about 250 a night, 225 to 250 a night over that weekend. So, and that's for a very small rental. When you get into some of those luxury resort developments, that we have down here, Cinnamon Shore, Palmia Beach, Sunflower Beach. I mean, those are premium luxury resort developments. And so uh, I've heard some of those larger sleeping beachfront units can be, up to 1,500, 1,800 a night, I guess, maybe even higher on the weekends.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I've heard people charging like $40,000 a month,
Yeah.
and it probably you wouldn't see that as often, that would probably be less common, but you could certainly see a week, so you could, potentially do, $10,000 for the week,
Yeah.
and what is probably, factored in there is like, hey, we're going to be able to get this much in this time period. We have to really maximize this because this is going to be our bread and butter. I've also heard that because people may have, the ability to charge more, that people are offering more. I've heard people, believe it or not, include like a chef, include like, hey, we'll do like laundry service.
Mhm.
I've heard someone say, hey, we'll have jet skis and a golf cart, waiting for you in tow if you want to do that. So people are almost doing this like concierge service. I've seen some of that with Airbnb too.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. Definitely a concept that's being adapted here as well. Again, more so those luxury in those luxury resort developments. And you bring up an interesting point too, when people are considering buying an investment property down here for short-term rental. A lot of people want a vacation here as well. So you really have to take into consideration, are you investing in this on more on the vacation side of things, or are you investing in this to make money? And that's something I tell my clients, if you really want to capitalize on your investment, leave the summer, as hard as that may be, leave that to rentals and then come down Thanksgiving, Christmas, that sort of thing, or just really be choosy over the weekends that you're picking, because you can certainly capitalize on some more than others.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I've spoken with quite a number of short-term rental investors who have a passion for this because they want to go there themselves with their family. But you can imagine if you're going on, Memorial Day weekend when everyone else is going, you're missing out on potentially huge, spreads there. Ability to get lots of stays and really high price stays as well. I do want to pivot a bit here before we wrap the show and ask you about folks who may not be familiar with the area, looking at investing in the area. What are some common mistakes that you've seen people make? Whether it's short-term rentals or just buying property in general, in Port A and North Padre Island.
That's a great question. I can name a few. Obviously, not knowing about flood insurance and taking that into consideration when you're looking at your numbers. So making sure you get a good insurance quote and taking that into account. One other thing that's really important is to know from a financing standpoint, if you're going that route, some of our condominiums down here are referred to as being non-warrantable in terms of financing. So you have to go a non-traditional route, either through a credit union or a bank or a DSCR loan and something like that. So if you're not working with an agent who's very familiar with the condo development specifically down here, I mean, you can ask me any condo development here, either on Padre or Port Aransas, and I'll tell you whether or not it's going to be considered a condotel. But there's a lot of agents that will, sell from out of market and not have that understanding, and they'll get under contract with traditional financing. And a lot of those deals will tank before they get to the closing table because they just cannot get the financing. So certainly working with a great agent who has that market knowledge is your best bet. But then on top of that, just making sure that they can lead you to a lender that's going to put you on the right path so that, and again, that comes into a different kind of financing. So that's also going to impact your numbers, right? Your interest rate's a little bit higher, your down payment's a little bit higher. Typically, the term is a little bit shorter. So when you're only amortizing over 15 years versus a 30-year that you had in your mind, that's going to affect your bottom line in terms of what kind of money you're bringing home on your investment property.
Yeah, no question. I mean, you hit on so many things. The flood insurance, I've heard we could probably do a whole other show about that. I've heard, is this true that there's instances where it's more than the mortgage?
It's usually incorporated in the HOA dues, and we do have a
Okay.
couple developments that could be the case.
That just seems so, I mean, gosh, I hope that's a whole other wrench to throw in there.
Yeah.
But, when we talk about investing really in any market, some of the things that you mentioned, understanding that, hey, the type of financing that you have might not work. Like, hey, the agent that you're working with might not be aware that there's, this happening here and the deal could fall apart, before the finish line because of some things that really someone who has got more local knowledge would be able to direct you better on. But Melissa, we are coming up on time here. Any
Sure.
new projects that you're working on? And then also too, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you or your team?
Sure. Definitely want to talk about a couple new websites that I'm coming out with. One is North Padre islandlife.com. The other one is islandlifeportaransas.com. Those are going to be great assets for local investors, people that are looking to have an Airbnb here. I'm going to feature local partners on there, businesses, restaurants, retail, that sort of thing. Any of my clients who own investment properties, their Airbnb will have the opportunity to be featured on there. So when their guests check in, they've got easy access to all of our local restaurants and such. Believe it or not, a lot of our restaurants don't even have websites or Facebook pages for people to find them online. So I'm hoping to really bridge that gap, and increase the value for my investment property buyers as well. And you can find me at melsellsislandlife.com. And I've got some really great calculators on there that will be able to help you with 1031 exchanges, help you with your Airbnb and calculating your rental income and stuff. So if you're curious about that at all, head over to my website and check that out. Anywhere else, you can find me at Mel Sells Island Life, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even my Peloton handle.
Now, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Dylan. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. If you're looking to take your business and your life to the next level, you really need to learn more about the Investor Fuel Mastermind. It's your shortcut to success. To learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other amazing entrepreneurs, 100% financing on your deals, member-only discounts, and so much more, please visit investorfuel.com/Texas. By the way, Investor Fuel is even Texas-based. Also, if you're interested in applying to be a guest on this very show, the Texas Real Estate Pro Show, please visit investorfuel.com/Texas. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app so you never miss another episode. We'll see you on the next show.